us. That's why we have so many barriers falling down in front of us. So I want to thank our viewers for your patience. We are on and we are live. Again, I apologize for the delayed start. Tonight we have special guests with us, David and Tammy, and we are talking about a wonderful topic tonight, blended families, dating with kids. And the title of tonight's broadcast is Dare to Blend, Dating with Kids. And this is such a relevant topic. It's a huge topic. Just to get an idea of just how important it is. And so many families are being affected. If you look at, let me see the statistics, they're about 40% of married couples with children in the U.S. are step couples. And that is quite a bit. That's almost 50%, 40%. And so I want to dive right in. And David and Tammy, welcome again. You're my special guest and welcome you to the platform. So I'm just going to dive right in. So David and Tammy, if you're a single parent, you think, hey, I want to date. I want to get back out there. I have children. How do I know I'm ready?
Well, I would say when you take the time out to really look at what it is that what you need in your life at that time, what God is revealing to you about yourself. I think that that's when you can be open to the opportunity to, look for and engage in a relationship with someone else. I think that all too often we, think that we're ready for relationships, and sometimes it's just not the right timing, or we haven't really taken the time to love on ourselves and get to know ourselves and what God expects of us and wants for us.
Good. David, feel free to jump right in. This is comfortable. We're having a discussion. It's all of us sitting across our virtual table, kicking it, relaxing. Please chime in. Be yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. It's just usually in a relationship is all about timing and energies and being there at the right time and place. And also, spiritual connection. Sometimes the spirit of a connection can be you're ready at that time and that person's ready at that time. And of course, a blended family can come in as well when everything is gelled correctly.
Mm-hmm. And just to throw this out there and ask, what challenges, and I invited you to be a part of this because you are living it. You shared that you are coming together. You have children. You're blending a family, and so this is your real life experience. What's going on right now? What challenges feel like you all face in trying to come together with your children and trying to blend your family and moving forward?
Your audio is off, and I think somebody in the chat had your audio sounds like a little what is it? It sounds a little scratchy.
The audio sounds scratchy,
or like it's a buzz.
A little buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Is it better? Is it a little bit better?
No.
How about now?
No.
No, it's still not clear.
It's like some friction in there.
Let's see. So it's still having a little bit of problems.
Yeah.
Hold on just for a second, viewers.
Sure.
So while my audio is what I'm dealing with, I want you all not get distracted by the question.
That's right. I'm gonna go ahead and answer that.
That's right. So go ahead and answer that question while we figure out what's going on with my audio.
There you go.
In my back?
Yes.
Perfect. Oh my goodness.
Look at God. Look at God.
Look at God. See what he's doing. See
this right here.
You know what? That's why it's going to be awesome tonight because we coming across all kinds of
Absolutely.
barriers, and that's because what's about to come forth is going to blow somebody's mind. So I apologize, David and Tam. Let me
It's
ask the
okay.
question again. What challenges did you all face in trying to blend your family and dating and coming together and making a decision like, hey, we want to do life together with our children?
So we are in a unique situation. David and our families have known each other for over 40 something years. And
Oh
so
wow.
we're both from Queens, New York. Yeah, we're both from Queens, New York. I've never met David. He's never met me. We kind of heard of each other, but just never met. Our families, some other family members have dated and, even got married.
Oh
And
wow.
it's interesting. Right. So it's interesting how our families already have known each other for years. And so when him and I met, we we didn't even, I guess we weren't even thinking about and for me, I wasn't thinking about a relationship at the time. He just seemed really cool. He knew my mom. He knew my sisters. One of my sisters. And they were like just talking and they were hitting it off. And then we all went to dinner and things like that. And then we began to form a connection. But I would say the challenging part of a blended family and then dealing with someone who your family has known for years is that sometimes they have a preconceived notion of that person.
Mhm.
They think that, oh, I know him from when he was a young boy up until, teenage and young adulthood, but people do evolve and they do grow. And the same thing, vice versa with me. His family know me and they knew me growing up. And so, you know, part of that can be these preconceived notions of who they think the person is today. Sometimes they may not feel like they're good enough, or they may feel like, oh, maybe you guys, we don't want the dynamics of them, our families knowing each other for so long and being intertwined for so long to be messed up because we decided to start dating, right? And so
Uh-huh.
that was initially the challenge. As far as our kids are so cool. They actually, we didn't introduce them right away. Like it took a while. I
Mhm.
probably like almost a year before our kids really got to meet each other. Him and I dated.
Oh.
We dated long distance for a while, and then after about 6 months into our relationship, we decided to move closer to each other, and it was our children actually getting to know each other, and getting to know David. I think really helped to kind of like make us feel more like, oh, okay, we're good, because it's important that your kids like and get along with your significant other or the person that you're dating, because if not, you may have to make a decision.
Mhm.
And
What?
David,
What? Yeah.
You said it all. I don't have much more to say.
That took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm gonna let him answer the next one.
No, you fine.
Oh my goodness. And it's funny that you in your situation, your children weren't introduced until like almost a year of you all dating and coming together. How
Mhm.
do you how what would you recommend that to other men and women who have their single parents, they're dating, they're trying to figure out when do I introduce my kids to this person? What advice do you have?
It's timing. It goes by how everything is going and gelling. It's different for everybody. So
Hmm.
you might gel quicker, so then your kids may have to see each other quicker. It's all different. The
Yeah,
scenarios and stuff changes. So that's what it go by. That's
I,
what I would go by.
I agree. The timing, by the energy,
Hmm.
I think that when the two of you feel comfortable with each other and you guys know that you guys are like, this thing is going, further than just a friendship, and you guys start to get serious about each other, then you have to have those conversations about kids and about, how do you kind of introduce or slowly introduce your kids to your significant other or somebody that you're dating. It's, again, like what David said, it is timing. It's timing, and you'll know it. It's like you get this instinct. I think sometimes we think too hard about that piece, and
Hmm.
you can introduce a person as your friend. This is my friend. You
Hmm.
don't have to say this is my lover, my my man, my whoever. This is my friend, and I like to introduce you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So did you all prepare your children ahead of time? Like, did you have like conversations like, what if mommy saw dating somebody else? What would you think? Or what if daddy, brought somebody else here? What did you think? Did you all do anything like that?
No, I haven't.
He did, and I did because I have teenagers. So I did because my teenagers are girls, especially. So I wanted to have that conversation with them, and just kind of talk to them. Oh, mommy's dating, and they was like, "Oh, I knew it!" Like they knew it. My girls was fun. It was like, you going on out of town trips. You are going out to dinners more. You're doing this, and that wasn't, what they were used to because I was I was single for 2 years. So
Yeah. So, David, your decision not to like prepare them ahead of time, do you feel like, that was the best thing to do, or your kids better than anybody else, right? So, okay, I know it I just, you just gonna meet her, and it's gonna be all right, we're gonna march forward. Or do you feel like, what, maybe I could have tried talking to them a little bit ahead of time? Any thoughts on that?
Not really. It depends. Like I said, it depends. My kids usually gonna go with what I go with most of the time. So I mean, you don't really have a choice in the matter of that. I'm not trying to really. I don't really, because the kid doesn't know everything in a relationship part anyway. So I'm not really gonna ask a kid that. I'd rather ask a grown person. A kid. As long as they getting candy, you giving them snacks, you're probably great. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that's great for you.
Okay. And you know what? And I appreciate your candor and answering. And I think that's what's so key. There's no one way to do this. There's no exact formula where everybody has to fall in line and everybody has to do A, B, and C to make it work. And so I like that you shared that, hey, I didn't do that with my children. But Tammy said, yes, I did. I did prepare them. We did go through it. We did talk about it. And you know what? Things are still okay. Things are still okay, and it still work together. So in that same vein, if I say, do you think kids' acceptance or not acceptance of the new partner should kind of set the pace or the tone of your relationship, or you don't think, or just the opposite? They don't have no say in this. What I say goes. They just got to get on board. What do you think?
It depends. What's the discrepancy about? You know what I mean? You just can't just dislike the person and don't really know what's going on. I don't. Now, if they have valid points, then it's something to take into consideration. But if it's not, then I won't do it.
And then you find that there's some kids that they still want you to be with their mom. So they're looking at it like, well, why don't you like my mom? why and so they might ask those questions, but I don't think that it's a dislike. I think it's just a matter of, why didn't things work out? If you're open to dating, why didn't it work out between you and my mom, or why didn't it work out between you and my dad? And I think that, like David said, if the situation presents itself where there's some clear situations that, or kind of scenarios, and I don't know, that just really make it so that it's not meshing and they're not getting along, and there's attitude and conflicts, and I don't believe in living in conflict. The word of God tells us that, when there's confusion, we know that's not of God, right? So then so in the midst of confusion, we know that that's not of God, then it's probably not meant to be.
I hear that. And thanks for sharing that. And I want to make sure that our viewers, that you all are sending in. We want to hear from you. Please chat in your questions, your comments. We want to hear from you, because this is such a I don't want to say an issue. I just feel like it's reality. Because if I say issue, it make it sound like it's a problem, but it's not a problem. It's just the reality that we're living in. There have been blended families since the beginning of time, all the way back. And even Jesus himself came from a lineage of blended families. And so I think we have to really lift this up and really talk about it and how best to go about doing this and give some guidelines. Because like I was saying, there's no one way to do it. And every situation is different. And I think a family, a man and a woman coming together, they have children that are 25 years old versus 3 years old, they're going to have a different experience blending their family, with adult children versus school age or toddler or even teens. And so you have to kind of adjust your approach, and your concerns may have to adjust, given, their age groups. Do you find that, I don't know if your children, I know, Tammy, you mentioned your children are teens. David, I don't know if your children are teenagers as well, or younger or
One
older.
teenager. One teenager.
Okay, one teenager. Do you find that it was different in how they received it based on their age group?
Of
Yes,
course.
yes. Yeah, with the teenagers, they're a little more leery. They're like, what's this, what's this going on? So the teenagers are a little more leery. My girls especially, they were a little more leery because, we had been through some things previously. And my youngest, they're boys. So, and they, because they're young, they don't really know. They just like, oh, okay, and if they're having fun, like David said earlier, if the kids are having fun, they're getting what they want, they don't care. They have fun. But it's the teenagers that care. The teenagers will kind of give you their opinion and their thoughts of how they feel.
Yeah. David, were you saying something?
No,
I don't know if you wanted to. Yeah,
but it's true. I made a statement of it. I'm just saying, I would base it on the credibility of it. I mean, having fun is cool. Going to get pizza is fine. Shopping is cool, but that doesn't mean the relationship is good.
Okay. And I like that Tammy brought up the fact that, older children, they're older, they have more memories, the way they process is different. And so you're in this space where you have to address some of those fears. Fears within yourself, your children's fears, especially if they have a memory of what didn't go well. With their parent, with that first marriage, or maybe you never got married to that, into the parent of your children. What fears do you think you have to overcome when trying to blend this family as a single parent? What fears have you faced and you had to overcome to get to this point? And I know it's just a loaded question.
Yeah. I think, like what you asked earlier, I think it's a matter of also, that the personalities kind of meshing and everyone kind of getting along. But also in addition to that, you want to make sure that, you're not moving too fast, that you are kind of watching your kids' reactions. You are kind of, looking at the interactions to see how things are going. But you really you can't truly measure it until you're in it. You don't know how kids are going to react or respond. And then, you look at, like David said, not just the good times when everybody's having pizza, we're going out to eat, having a good time, but you look at those times when somebody got in trouble and, we got to be in timeout or have a moment, how they respond in those situations, that's when you kind of can gauge how things are going.
Okay. All right, David, any feedback on that? Any piggybacks? What fears do you felt like you face in trying to, you beginning new, you met this wonderful woman that you've known for a very long time, but you're, coming together in a different way. Were there any fears that you felt like you had to overcome?
We didn't know each other for a long time.
Our
families have known each other.
Your family.
Our families have known each other. Yes.
I don't really operate in the spirit of fear. Period. I don't have any fear. Just you have you might be anxious about the situation, how it's going to pan out, more than me being fearful. I'm not really, you
Mhm.
know, because by the time the kids even get together, I was real confident in the beginning about the
Mhm.
kids and gelling, because if you come in with the right energy and you're a right person, that shouldn't be a fear. Only should be a fear if you have wrong intentions and stuff like that. I didn't really look at it as a fear at all.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you know what I can share. Thanks for sharing that, David. I appreciate your feedback. And I can just out of disclosure for myself, I'm also a single parent. I'm widowed. My spouse has passed away, and so I have dated, and since I've been a single parent, and I can share that my fears. In thinking about dating and going out there, it's like, oh, are my children going to accept this person? It's always going to be, well, well, they're not my dad. They're not, the man they knew as father, and so I worried about that. And I have girls, and I also worried that as a woman and
Mhm.
having little girls, and just to be, honest, I'm like, you bring in introducing a man into their lives that you're getting to know. And I've heard the horror stories. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
every single man out there is some, predator or what have you, or every woman for that matter, because I'm not jumping on the men because there are women that are struggling too. I worried about that,
Mhm.
and I prayed about it. I'm like, whoa, God, who you have for me? I don't want to bring in somebody that's going to be a predator,
Yeah.
that's going to be, preying on my girls.
Right.
And so, I live in a real world, and so do you. And I have these are real things that I thought about as in dating and getting out there. I don't want my children to be abused. I don't want to be abused.
Mhm.
And so these are some of the fears that I have, and I want to throw it out to our viewers too. Viewers, please, by all means, I want to hear from you. Jump in if there are any fears that you felt like, or you want to chime in this conversation. I want to hear from you. So make sure you chatting in your questions and your comments. We're not trying to put all the pressure on David and Tammy. So certainly we want to hear from you, and this is a heavy subject. Um, but what are your thoughts when I share those things with you?
So, are you asking us or viewers?
I'm asking you.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
So I
asking
can say,
you.
I'll speak from my perspective as a mother with daughters as well, and bringing a new man into my life. For me, it is using that discernment. A lot of times we know when something is off.
Hmm.
If you're not just blinded by what you want and what you're desiring, when what things are just not really exactly how they seem.
Hmm.
Sometimes people can put on a facade, and you're meeting a representative in the beginning, and so
Hmm.
in those beginning stages it all sounds good and looks good. I'm all at the time when you first meet a person or you introduce your kids, you observe the interaction, the exchanges, and just kind of like, look to see what's happening. But I think that most importantly, you use that discernment, and you use, what you feel, your God-given intuition.
Hmm. Yes, and I appreciate you sharing that your viewpoint on that, Tammy, because I think we really have to think critically about when I first was dating, before I met my husband, or even when I met him and we were dating. That was before kids, that was before any of that, and so you had a whole different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You were a lot more willing to take more risks. You were a lot more willing to um, you know trial and error.
Yes.
You feel me? And so now that I'm in a different space, my husband has moved on. Whatever your situation is, in my case, my husband's deceased, but it might be it's tons of other scenarios of why people find themselves now a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to exclude anybody, but now the stakes are higher.
Right.
The stakes are higher now because if I make a mistake or I bring someone in here that's detrimental to not only my physical, emotional, spiritual well-being, it also affects my children.
Right.
And so is it as much of an issue if your children are adults? Maybe, not so much, it's not as risky, but when you have small children that you're still
Yeah.
responsible for, even teenagers,
Yeah.
um, the stakes are a lot higher. So how do you feel? I find that because the stakes are higher, There's a lot more I have to think about. I
Mm-hmm.
find it very difficult to like date, where do I find these people?
Yeah.
How do I weed them? In your case, your families knew each other, right? And that kind of helps because they knew some background. They can kind of say, hey, I know her, I know her family, I know this and this, and they kind of give you a little layer of comfort. Not to put words in your mouth, but just hearing,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, I would think I would feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Because the
Yeah.
families knew each other. But if
Yeah.
you just out there, how do I know this person is, the person I should go with?
Right. I think again, like we said, it is that intuition, but I would say, you have to first and foremost, you have to know yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
have to know yourself. Just like David said, you can't operate in fear, but you can use caution. You can use
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, because those are things and the tools that God has given us. So if you're using those things, and like I keep hearing, seeing a few people putting in there that gut feeling, that intuition, you kind of sometimes people just want to go and turn a blind eye and not see the warning signs because they want to be happy. They want to be in a relationship. They want to be, oh, somebody wants me or somebody wants to date me or whatever the case may be. And they've been single for so long and finally this man comes along. You still have to use your discernment. You still have to use that wisdom because, regardless of anything else, your kids are in the midst of this, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's key, that you always just, kind of use that gut intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add something?
I already said what I said
Okay.
about that. I'm just
You know
saying
what?
I don't really operate in fear. I'm saying I'm gonna observe and all that stuff. I don't operate in fear. No situation. I'm gonna look because I'm very observant anyway. I'm gonna stay quiet. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna really observe the situation because it's new. It's like a baby, so I'm gonna watch it a lot, and then I judge from there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do all of that sometimes and still the
So,
result
yeah.
is bad. So,
Mm-hmm.
you get blessed. And you know what I'm saying, highly favored some at the words I use and some, just you have to be it's a crazy world. So you gotta try to see what the best scenarios are for you in your life.
Mm-hmm. And just turning to our viewers, thank you, David. I didn't want to cut you off. Just looking at our viewers, we have viewer chat in, say, get into a blended family. My concern was my children being loved as well, not just me.
Yeah.
Uh, any comment on that, David or Tammy?
Yeah, that's a major concern for most people because most people feel like that the lover or the person they with, they're gonna be more engaged in with the kids. But that comes if it's a love situation, it's really love, the kids will be at it with no problem. It's not really, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
If y'all all bonding and loving each other and respecting each other, it should be an easy transition. That part should be. Sometimes it's difficult because the kid may not want you there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
different. And
Right.
they're fighting you and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yes, that can happen, and you'll get some resistance. I've had a little bit of resistance, but in the long run, I think that if you show love, like love conquers all, and people we say that and it's a cliche, but it is true. A lot of times I think we think too hard about it. If when you love on somebody unconditionally, like it's not like with these conditions and it doesn't have any kind of like I don't know what to say, but it doesn't have any conditions. When it doesn't have any conditions, you are open to love other people, and extend yourself, like what Monica's saying, extending yourself to love, because you love the person, and so anything that's coming along with that, if you don't love their children, that's a problem, or you don't get to love their children, it's a problem.
Absolutely. Because, when you coming in as a, you coming in with your children, there's so many hurdles you have to clear. It's, your personal between you as a couple, make sure we on the same page. We're functioning. You got the coupleness, the couple dynamic, and then you got the familyness, the family dynamic where you're trying to, integrate your children in, and you want them to feel loved and received, and you want to feel loved and received by them and accepted, not as a replacement, so to speak, of their biological parent, but just saying, look, I'm not here to replace your parent or say something wrong with them or whatever, and here I am, but rather I'm coming, this is just someone else to love you, somebody else to support you. And so the more love, nobody goes wrong by having more love, more support in their lives. And it's not about competing. It's about us loving together.
Absolutely.
And extending that. So it sounds like I don't know if what your children may be experiencing. They're not here to speak for themselves, but as a parents, I'm sure that was a concern. Like, hey, are my children going to be received and loved by the man or the woman that I'm falling for, that I love?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because for me, I'll tell you this. So we both came into this relationship. We have four children outside of our relationship. So I have four, he had four, 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 boys. So it's 8 children that we had coming into this relationship. And it's funny because, you think about, how are the kids going to respond? Are they going to like him? And you don't force the issue. You don't force the issue. I find that if you allow them to nurture a relationship on their own, it will blossom into what it needs to blossom into. What I like about what David did is he came into my girls' life as teenagers, and my sons who were younger than my girls, they were little guys, and he just kind of was just friendly, and just wanted to say, hey, I'm here if you need a friend, somebody to a listening ear, somebody take you to basketball practice, somebody take you to cheerleading practice, whatever. Like I'm a friend. I'm somebody who's just, on standby. I could be here too. I know your dad is here, but I'm here too. And I'll be whatever it is that you're comfortable with me being.
Okay, another shout out to David. I feel like he's taking notes. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here." Yeah.
It's trial and error. It's been trial and error. It's been trial and error. Yeah. But if it's natural, it works itself out.
And I like that you all mentioned the being genuine, not pressuring. And I think, and having patience.
That's the key to pressure, and not having a high expectation right away. You have to build the relationship. So putting a strong, you can have your ideals that you want to be the father figure or the mother figure, but you also have to give it time to develop. And if you don't give it time to develop, it's a rush situation. The kids feel rushed, and the replacement of their father or mother is going to feel like pressure instead of just being a relaxed situation.
And you know what? I think that's so wise, David, that you said that. Not pressure, patience. And that's what, when love is kind and it's patient. It's not a hurry thing. It's not crammed down your throat. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build relationship. And you know what? That creates a buffer zone. So even though it's like, you know what, I'm not pressuring you. I'm not saying cramming myself down your throat, saying we gotta be close. It just like give you that time to kind of warm up and then get to know you. You get to know them, and then and slowly over time you can build that trust and say, look, if you uncomfortable about something or you want to talk, and then they feel comfortable coming in and say, you know what, I didn't really feel comfortable about that or whatever. But if it's force, people won't rebel. People won't rebel. I will rebel.
I hate it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so I'm wanting to lift up what our viewer chatted in and say, I agree wholeheartedly. I tell my son that God gave him a big enough heart to love another man, not as a replacement of his dad, but as another positive male figure role model. Oh,
Absolutely. And if you
absolutely.
think about it, our son, I'm speaking from a single mom perspective now. A woman raising a son can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
We are women, so we can't give them that male perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when somebody new is coming into your son's lives, because I've talked about my daughter's coming into my son's life, I have to look at the role model that he's going to be. You know, is he going to be that upstanding man,
Mm-hmm.
someone, a man of valor that can show my sons how to be men of valor? You know what I mean? And can demonstrate, you know, those different types of qualities, right? So when you look at that, you look at, okay, can he potentially raise my sons to be, you know, upstanding men? And you know, that's where to Latasha, where that positive role model comes in, is that, you know, you look for those qualities and see that, you know, how, what type of man is he to his kids, you know?
Mm-hmm.
David has two sons and two daughters, and so I had to see, you know, what kind of man is he to his sons. You know, is his sons, you know, portraying what I would think, you know, I would want my sons to portray if they're looking up to him or if they're following his path. So, you know, and seeing that, if I can say yes to that, then I'm like, okay, then we got something.
That's good, and I like that you shared that, how you looking to your, you know, at that time you were examining him and trying to figure out how is this going to work, but at this point your application was accepted, David. You've been accepted. But prior to that, and you're like looking like, wow, how are they managing their own children, how are they managing their own lives, and I think that's so key now. And then I think what when you mentioned that, you know, wanting that male figure for my son, and being a woman and not knowing, you know, you're trying to raise your son the best you can. Do you think it's okay for a woman to set out a single mom, or vice versa, a single dad set out to date just so I can have someone for my children? Do you think that's wise?
No, because that's when you end up with the wrong person, you know,
Mhm.
because your intentions and what you're looking for is not centered around the right thing, you know. And
Mhm.
so in that situation, sometimes you're not going to end up in the right situation, and then sometimes you will, because that's just what, you
Mhm.
know, God wanted for you, and it just happened that way. But sometimes it can end up the other way.
But that's pressure right there. That's what I'm talking about. That's pressure. And then it doesn't work. Like, it's pressure now. There's a demand that needs to be met. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna go. You're not gonna be able to look and see all the things, because you're like, uh, he's good on paper. He might be half good on paper, or she might be
Mhm.
half good on paper. You're not looking at everything because it's a demand. It's a rush. You're not. You don't want to do the process. The process is gonna make things go. Diamonds are made within time. So
Mhm.
yeah. So you can't rush that.
Yeah. And you're so right. And I think as men, single parents, whether you're a man or a woman, it's so important that you examine yourself before
Mm-hmm.
you jump out there, and decide to date and bring people into your life. Is because, and I would say that's wise advice, even if you don't have any children. You're a
Yeah.
single man, woman, you reach and get out. You need to examine yourself. What is it that I'm looking for?
Right.
What, you know, why am I doing this? Do I
Mm-hmm.
want something casual? Why am I doing? I'm just lonely. I'm trying to find someone to spend my life with. What is it that I'm doing this for? And I really think and it's just my opinion, I think a lot of us rush ahead, um, and we don't really know. We figure it out along the way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that can be dangerous, because and it has a cost to it, even if you don't have any children and you're just a
Yeah.
single man or woman. And then when you're doing this and you have children, it's a high cost that everyone has to pay while you're trying to figure it out.
And like David said, that causes pressure, you know. And I don't never when we came into our relationship, you know, my children, they have their fathers, you know.
Hmm.
So I didn't expect David to come in and be their father. You know,
Mhm.
if that was the case, that's, you know, he would have been their father, right?
Mhm.
So I organically wanted them to have a relationship that was just natural and organic, that this just happened, you know, so naturally and so easy flowing. And he wanted the same for his children. We didn't pressure them. We didn't want to, you know, cause this like unnecessary, I don't know, like it's like I don't know, it can be a conflict, but it's also that pressure, like David said, that it's like, oh well, we got to all make a decision. We all got to make a
Mhm.
decision, you know what I mean?
I'll give you a prime example. Like when I was young, my grandmother raised me, so
Mhm.
it was pressure. So when a guy came in our family, he had he had to be a provider. He had to come in. He had to show us he was interested in us. He didn't even know my grandmother yet. So I'm like, why is he doing all this for us? We don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to get to know him for real because you
Yeah.
don't even know him. So you can see it. It's a process.
Yeah.
You be like, this is weird, and it feels pressure. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. And I think it's so important. And I when we talked earlier in the broadcast about, you know, preparing your children, and you know, especially if you've experienced it yourself growing up, what that feels like, it's so important to, you know, have these kind of discussions and think about it. Even if you don't have the discussion, think about it in your mind as an adult, trying to play it through like, whoa, how could this, what could go well, what could not go so well, and how would I handle it, and really think about that. And I feel like for me, I'm learning. I'm learning. There's
Mm-hmm.
some things that I'm learning as I grow. I'm learning more about myself because you evolve as you get older and you have different
Mm-hmm.
experiences. You evolve, and I'm thinking about my children. They're growing and evolving and learning more, and so we're all on this continuum. We all got all these tops spinning everywhere, and then to get everything all in line, like you were saying, David and Tim, you got, it takes patience, it takes maturity, and you definitely can't have pressure. Pressure is a killer. Pressure is
Mm-hmm.
a relationship killer. Nobody
Yes.
wants it. Even in your coupleness, you know, like, don't put that pressure on me. I don't want you telling me I have to, you know, give me some time. Let it, you know. So pressure is definitely a killer. And so I think it's so important that we try to prepare, if you can, as much as possible, have those conversations, think about it, because it's too much at stake, and relationships are precious. Your children are precious. Your relationship, your coupleness is precious, and you don't want that to all erupt. And that's going to be a big powder keg. Boom, right? If everything goes wrong, and there's going to be a lot of hearts that are going to be hurt and broken. And so let me look to our viewers. I had a viewer chat in. Um, your son should be protected. Sometimes your teenager or young adult children can see things in relationship that you don't
That
currently
is true.
see. Wow.
That's true. That is
Wow.
true.
Can you speak to that? Can you speak to that, Tammy or David?
Of course, like I said, pressure. You like what you see. You're putting a rush on it. This is the new
Uh-huh.
daddy or mama, and the kid is like they're not in the pressure of finding a daddy or mama, so they can really look at this thing and see it. Like, you know, my father, he did it when I was young. What do you think? And I'm like, wow, this is the first date that I've been on with y'all.
Yeah.
She seems cool. And then
Uh-huh.
take a while. Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I'm getting what I want. I'm going shopping. I'm eating
Yeah.
good. I'm like, hey, this is a good mate. Me,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have to date the mate in a relationship. I'm
Hmm.
dating kid dates, eating, going to the play. I'm feeling great about the situation. If you ask me, it's a marital situation for me. So you can't go by that. You have to really
Yeah.
go by the experience of time.
Right.
Yep, you're right about that. And I think just trying to just switching gears a little bit, because I think what's so important is that, not that we, when you're blending families together, your children, they are part of it, they're part of the equation, and they're important, but they're not everything, because the
Mm-hmm.
coupleness is what really is going to end up being a priority.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying neglect your children or any of that, so I don't want anyone to twist my words, you know, and take it the wrong way, saying, oh, she said it's all about the man and the woman. But no, that's not it. But you got to have priorities, because the reality is your children are going to grow up and they're going to move on. and
Right.
it's going to be your coupleness that's going to be there. And so, how do you protect your coupleness from invading forces? It may be
Whew.
the children, it may be the ex-spouse, the ex-girlfriend,
Mhm.
the baby mama, the ex-boyfriend, whatever. How do you, how do you protect your coupleness from this invasion?
Wow.
I know
You
that's a
saying
big
that's a real big one.
How you protect the evasion is enjoying it, like having like we have date nights, we have and I'm really private. Really like I
one.
can have a relationship. This guy have a baby mother. Doesn't mean baby mama has to know all my experiences and how I'm living and what I'm doing, because that could be an
Yeah.
antagonist into the situation. She's hearing,
Mhm.
oh, you didn't do none of that with me. You didn't go here with me. I
Oh
never went to
boy.
that trip. Then you're being a
Oh
fool. Too
boy.
much information can be, you know what I'm saying? Pressure could either be diamonds or bust pipes. So you can have your your time to make the diamond, or you can get your pipes bust by telling all your information. I tell all my friends that. I listen to their conversation. You telling her all of that. How you think that's gonna pan out for you? Because I
Uh-huh.
know if a person even has an inkling of feeling for you or still unresolved issues with the relationship, that's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
So when I discuss myself, I don't even talk about what car I got. I don't talk about nothing that changes. My kids
Uh-huh.
might do it. They'll put their camera, and she knows that. They'll put their camera around the whole house and look at daddy's cars. That's what they do. Okay?
Mhm.
But I'm not doing it.
Yeah, David
Now,
is David is way more private than I am. I am a social butterfly, and you know, I,
I
I,
can't even tell, Tammy.
I know,
I
right?
can't
I
even
know.
tell.
And I'm such an outgoing person, outgoing personality. But one thing I do like is that David won't let people invade our space. Even if I'm like overly welcoming and overly friendly or overly extended, David will be like, T, like you gotta back some of that up, because it's hurting our relationship, or it's hurting a situation for us, or it's causing confusion and conflict or whatever, because I'm so open and welcoming and I love everybody and everybody, like, and so I'm just a friendly person. And plus, being that I am a minister of the gospel, like I do open my arms and extend myself a little more. And David's like, I get that, T, but like, you are overextended sometimes, and like people do take advantage of that. And sometimes I have to be like, well, ask David, because I know I'm going to say yes probably to almost everything. And
Uh-huh.
David is like, T, like, let's think about that. We're doing X, Y, and Z, so how can we fit that in too? And so one thing I can honestly say is that he balances things with it.
Mhm.
He won't let people come in and invade our space, but so much.
Mhm.
And we talk about everything. So I'll say to everybody that's watching, you need to talk to your spouse. You guys need to talk about everything. Like, do
Mhm.
not let Dave will not let a night go by. We arguing. He won't let us go to sleep mad or none of that. But he's the private part that how he is. It actually helped me to keep some things intimate, because you don't want everybody knowing everything, and everything don't need to be on social media and all of this, that, and the third. But you guys need to have that intimate space. You guys should have time where you guys are talking and communicating often, and talk about everything, even the things that you think is going to be uncomfortable. You will find that your spouse sometimes can either relate, or they may give you some advice in an area where you've been struggling, or it's been bottled up in your mind and you can't
Mhm.
seem to get past it because you're dealing with a family issue, and you're like, oh, he may not understand that because it's my family. That's not true. You may bring it to him, he may bring it to you, and you guys talk about it, and you guys may be able to resolve something that maybe you've been pondering upon for a minute.
Mhm.
I would say, talk about it, just be open. um you know Keep some things private. Having that privacy really does help a relationship. And don't tell your family things when you're upset and mad at your spouse or your
Oh
significant other,
God.
because they're gonna judge it. They're gonna
He
judge it,
ain't
and they're
gonna
gonna
do
hold
that.
it against them. They're gonna hold it against them. And so when you guys make up, they're gonna be like, girl, because I don't like how he did that. And they're gonna remember it, and then they won't let it go, because now you have invited them into your world, into your intimate space, which really should have been about y'all resolving that conflict, and not you,
Mhm.
going to your family and stuff. And sometimes people They give advice because they may not always want to see things go well for you guys. You got to be careful about that as well.
Oh my gosh, Tammy and David, y'all brought up so many golden nuggets. I feel like we could be on here for another 2 hours. There's
I
so
know.
many golden nuggets. But when I'm hearing from what you're saying, boundaries are so key.
Yes.
Boundaries are so key because if you don't erect those boundaries, no one else will.
That's
And
so true.
people will invade your relationship and they will destroy your relationship. And you two will be left picking up the shambles, the ashes, and that's not what I want from you. That's not what God wants for you. We want you to flourish. We want you to flourish. And so creating those boundaries are so important because the biological parents or your family members, they have leverage, and the leverage that they have, they may not be using it to build and
Oh my
put you
goodness.
together. They're trying to use it to pry you apart. And so it's like David was saying, you sharing stuff, and she's like, well, you ain't do that with me. Well, why are you taking her this and that? And then they start sharing stuff with the children. The children are over there. And my
Amen.
God. And then she's saying such a kid, what your father over there doing? Where's she, and so
That's so
it can
true.
really get out of control real
Yeah.
quick. It can really get out of control. So the other thing that you all mentioned was so key is communication. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, communication can never be an understatement. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You have to communicate to your children, and I think what's important is communicating boundaries to your children too.
Yes.
What
Yes.
goes on in this house stays in this house.
That
Hey,
right there. I'm sorry, Natalie, to cut you off, but that piece right there, because family, they will talk to your children to get information too, and
oh
so
gosh,
you have to that's really key. That's really key,
mhm.
because they'll try to kind of invade your space by talking to your children, or hinting at certain things. Oh, is this or is this that or whatever, trying to get that information.
But that starts early. That's what I'm saying. That starts early. You have to know the situation at first. When it's a new situation, of course they can get away with that because it's new and you're not really talking about that, and they know that. So that's why they'll go to the kid first because the kid has a more insight on the situation at that time. So they think. But when you're building, you have to build your relationship first before you can have any relationship with the kids. Because if you have a weak, fragile relationship, how can you start asking the kids about something that you don't even have a control on, or it's not even centered yet? It's evolving to what it needs to evolve to. So that's why I say time. Rushing to it, and a lot of, I'm gonna say men, we really don't rush. Sometimes we settle more because we're men. Women, y'all want more. Y'all want the loving, you want the compassion, you want all that stuff, but it's not built in one day. So don't care how cute you are, how your shape is.
Yeah.
I mean, the words we'll say, because at that time, lust will say everything. Lust, it has no time. It's speed.
Yeah. Microwave.
Yes.
That's what I liked about our relationship, because we were long distance in the beginning. So wasn't it, can't be doing all of that going on, when it's long distance, and this was the first time I'm being very transparent right now. This was the first time I was in a relationship where, we had distance between us, so there was no intimacy, and so I actually liked that because I got to know David. I got to know how he thinks. I got to know more his mannerisms and stuff like that by us having that distance between us. It really helped to build our way of communicating, because all we could do was communicate, right?
Absolutely.
But that's what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of relationships don't do courting. I like dating because I get to know the person, and I've been on so many dates because when you're dating like that, then you get to see, okay, I need to go on another date with somebody else. It's not gonna work. I mean, just dating.
That's true.
Because dating is conversation. If we can't have a conversation in the initial of getting to know each other, what do we really have? That's only could be lust, because we don't have anything else. We can't talk about anything else, and that's not happening. So then you don't have a relationship. Kind of get what I'm saying? It's just you're not enjoying the company. So of course that's a short-lived relationship.
And I like that you said put it that way. You got to take the time to build your coupleness.
Mm-hmm.
These microwave relationships is shallow, and that's all
Right.
you're gonna get is physical attraction. I mean, about as much depth as a puddle of water. It's just gonna be, I mean, really, I mean, what else? Like David was saying, what else can you build on if you haven't had enough time to really invest and get to know that person and build that quality over time and really decide, is this somebody that I want to spend my life with? Is this
Right.
somebody that's going to pray with me, that's going to
Mm-hmm.
build in our spirituality, build in our lives, build in my children's lives, build truth, build righteousness, build
Right.
real joy? Is this someone that's going to destroy? You're not going to know that in these microwave, quick, you fine, you, I think you fine, we talking and all of a sudden you in the bedroom. No, 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 that is a recipe for disaster. And
Mm-hmm.
I can speak to that because I know it's a recipe for disaster because I made that mistake too. I made
Yes.
that mistake too. And so this microwave quick, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to come up off of that. Um, but we have to take the time to do that and build
Mm-hmm.
quality relationships because it's so much at stake, because it's not just your coupleness.
Right.
You're building for a family, for families to come together, your
Yes.
children, your parents, you got their parents and their stuff, and everybody coming together. Then you got also the ex-spouse or from baby mother or father of the children, or how you got them a part of it too. They're always going to be a
Right.
part of your life in some way because of your connection to the children. So we all in this together, and you take some
Mm-hmm.
time to really build those relationships. So I know that we're coming down to the bottom of our conversation, to the top of the hour, but I want to make sure that the audience hear from you all, just from your experience. If you had to throw out one or two things to say, hey, this is a green light, you should proceed. If you're a single parent, you're dating, hey, these are some yellow lights, you need to slow down, caution, and these are some red lights, you need to stop and don't go any further. From your experience, your wisdom, there's no right or wrong answers here. Let's start with the green light. What are two or three things? Say, hey, this is a green light. Give us advice. I want to hear from you.
Sure. Green light is, I would say, when, like David, we don't go to bed mad, so somebody who really, who cares about, whether or not you're upset before you close your eyes at night, somebody who's willing to pray with you before you go to bed, even after y'all just argue, right? Hold up, we forgot to pray. That's it. We argue, but we also still forgot to pray. Somebody who will continue to, the green lights for me, continue to communicate, continue to be open, and somebody that will still date you even when you guys been together for a few years or years after, and whatever.
Consistency, that's what that's called. But yeah, just staying, you have to keep it new and exciting, and also incorporate the love with everyone. So if it's all love, then keep those relationships in your circle. But if it's always something wrong, you have to get them out of your circle, because it's like a cancer. It will eat away situations. Even a good situation can be eaten away with negativity and not godly positivity. Positive reinforcements in the relationship.
Okay, I like that. And yellow lights. These are those caution. You need to slow
Mm.
way down. Slow way down and think about some things.
We just
In the
said it.
yellow
No
light.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Not all you're doing is physically kissing and hugging and running. You already know that that's all you do with each other. You don't have any conversation. So that is a sign. It's yellow because it's shallow. It's a shallow relationship. Then you get sad. Oh, we was living so good. What was the good when I ask people that, what was good about how you was living? And they'll tell you, oh, we was loving and then it changed. Of course, because that torch burnt out. They didn't have all the fun. They didn't have any communication with you. They wasn't your friend. So after the lover part is gone, the relationship is gone. That's all. It was there for loving. That was it. So it's kind of hard. So that's a yellow.
Definitely
And
yellow.
yellow light for me is again, you can't communicate with the person. Also, if they have a bad attitude or demeanor, and it seems like you can't get them to be more positive or fun loving. I would say a yellow light is also if your kids really, there's some signs that your kids are just not really connecting with them. That's a yellow light.
Mm-hmm. Red lights. You already said some of them, but red lights. Say, do not proceed in this now.
Red lights is if I think we talked about, if right up front, if a person's just not willing to kind of wait for you, if they're not willing to hold off on the intimate part of things and kind of wait for you, if a person is just, they can't see a future with you, if they can't, if they're closed off and you don't really know what they're thinking or feeling, like you have no clue, and y'all been dating for a few months and you just really don't know, who they really are. I think that's a red light.
Yeah.
Red lights.
Red lights. It's difficult. It's so many red lights. So red lights. We all can't stand red lights. So anything of stop. No growth. I'll be honest with you. And you also you gotta be able to build. You have to always build. You always have to be able to build. In a relationship, I don't know, I'm going by all my experiences. If I can't build in the relationship, I can't see the relationship. You know what I mean? If I can't grow in that relationship, and I'm talking about financially, because that's a key. We didn't bring that up. In a relationship, financial is very important. That's 70% of divorce, or 60, they say, is financial. Because it's not even, I thought it was infidelity, but then I looked it up. It was financial, because if you can't attain things that you want to attain together in a unity, it's kind of hard. So you have to look at that. Can we stack together? Can we do things together? Can we set goals so the kids can go on vacation together? If you can never go on vacation, there's a lot of people that's been in a relationship for 20 years that have been on vacation twice. You're not even getting the relief to enjoy the relationship. Now the relationship is a job. It's not fun. Wow. A lot of people, that's what they do. They have not having fun. Right. And I know that because a lot of people don't even do date night. Because we go on date night, I'm like, date night? They're like, date night? You do that? I said, like, wow, so what relationship you have going on? That's not even fun. That's a job. Now now that's pressure. I'm like, well, I'm here. We eat dinner. She make fried chicken. I like fried chicken. I might want fried chicken. Somebody else make it. And not Popeyes. I want to go somewhere.
That's right. And I think you all have put out so many nuggets, and I wish we can be here longer, but I know we have to wrap it up at some point. But I want to thank both of you so very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, for your candor, for coming on and willing to bless our viewers, bless me, and share your story. And I want to encourage anyone out there that's viewing us, and you're a single parent and you're dating or trying to date, thinking about it, you're out there, pray, seek wise counsel, and prepare yourself and read. I do want to recommend, there's a book. It's called Dating and Single Parent. It's by Ron Deal. I would encourage you, if you're not a person who like to read books, get the audio version. Listen to it in your car or where you're going. You need to prepare yourself. Because relationships are hard work, and relationships with children are triple hard. And you're blending families, but there's hope. And I pray nothing but blessings upon you, Tammy and David, eightfold. You had 4 children, each eightfold blessings upon you and your family. For our viewers, be blessed. Know that we are coming back at you every Monday at 7:30. All this month, February, we're talking about love and relationships, romance and dating. We have a fun event planned for you, a special event, a hybrid event that will be February 13th. We will be in at the church, Prayer Tower Church, having a great time. Those who can't make it to inside the church, you can tune in online. It's going to be awesome. You don't want to miss it. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. Be blessed, to be a blessing. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right.